So what I've learned about social media is that people can get very nasty if you disagree with them, or if you have an alternative point of view, or if you try to prove them wrong, and they are adamant that they are right. So this is something that I've experienced, even in the comments. Sometimes when I disagree with somebody, some of them they end up, clicking on my profile to see who I am and to get an impression on me, and then to try to portray me in a negative light, or make demeaning and disparaging comments about how I look, who I am, how I am, even despite the fact that I never met them, they never met me, and it's most likely going to remain that way. And there's no reason for them to become so nasty and malicious. But obviously, under the cloak of anonymity, and there is obviously plenty of research that highlights that people tend to become more, well, in the real world, they tend to become more violent. But obviously, online, I guess they tend to become more daring, where they with how they insult you, and how they abuse you, and how they harass and intimidate you. And obviously, you have to be aware of that. And obviously, as a mature person myself, was also experienced bullying from a young age in school, moving to a different country when I was a child. I had to endure a lot of a variety of bullying. Whether it was for my, you know, whether it was because of my pronunciation, my language skills, or even because of my culture, where I come from. The cliches about being the nationality that I am, and all that comes with it. And obviously, the British, they grow up. Some of them without a lot of filter. They say, especially people from working class areas, where they don't come from well educated, or you know families that instill in society the best way to conduct yourself, or to be polite or mannered. There's a lot of kids who grow up in the streets, with their friends on a bike, drinking, uh, you know, uh, causing issues to other people, and getting into fights. And all this type of behavior doesn't bode well for the future. A kid who behaves like that already, between the ages of, like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, when they grow up to be an adult, they are probably gonna, you know, they're gonna have to basically learn that, in society there are rules, and you gotta behave a certain way to be able to live within a society without, experiencing problems, or even, such as, being ostracized, and even going to prison. Because obviously, if society promotes certain behaviors, and if you go against those behaviors, you're gonna have to face the consequences, and they can impact your short term as well as potentially your long term, prospects, and what you can aspire to be in life. But anyway, I'm sure a lot of people have had even worse than me. People, I've heard people here that have received, like, death threats, and you know all sorts, for going against other ideologies, religions, social organizations. And it's just, it can be a very toxic world, the online world. Even if you're not a famous content creator, you really have to watch out who crawls around in these even in these comment sections. You just never know who it is. It could be somebody who, is mentally unsound and capable of doing some extremely irrational things to harm somebody, or to cause harassment, alarm, and distress. So, but let me know if you experience any extreme, harassment or negative behavior towards you on social media, and how do you handle it, and what is the best way to protect yourself from it. Leave it in the comment section. Thank you.